saying. First of all, Paul, a servant of Christ Jesus. Look at that word servant. This is where you would make notes. Do you know what that word servant literally translates to? Man, this is going to tick us off in the 21st century. This is not us at all. That word literally translates to slave. Paul is proudly stating that he is a slave to this gospel of Jesus Christ. How countercultural is that? What is our culture all about? Me, my autonomy, my independence. Don't you tell me how to live. I don't want anybody to tell me how to live. I am my own God, God of my own personal little universe. I live by my own truth. Maybe that's what you do, but this is how I do. You do you, I do me. That's what we hear all the time, and Paul is saying, no, as Christians, we have a master. We are under authority. Man doesn't like to be under authority. Kids struggle with the authority of their parents. Parents struggle with the authority of their bosses. All of us struggle with the authority of the government. Nobody likes to be told what to do, and Paul is glorying in the fact that he is a slave to this gospel of Jesus Christ. That's point number one, Christians. We are slaves to Christ Jesus. He's called to be an apostle. What is Paul saying here? Paul is pointing out that he is commissioned and taught by Jesus himself to go and proclaim this. So here's what we don't do. We don't take the words of Jesus and the words of Paul and try to bounce them off of each other. When Paul speaks, he speaks with the authority of Christ himself. The words that Paul is writing come from the mind of Christ. This is reliable and true. He writes truth. And look at what he says. He is set apart for the gospel of God. Set apart. Now, here's the way I always read that when I was dumb. I read that as he's arrogant. Oh, look at me. I'm set apart. God has set me apart from all of you people, and I get to make this declaration, and you all have to listen to me. That isn't what Paul is saying. What is Paul saying? He is saying this gospel that I'm here to proclaim is so great, I am willing to set apart everything that I had and everything that I was, because this is better. You know who we're talking about, right? Paul? Do you remember what Paul is giving up when he says, I'm going to separate myself from all things? What are those things? Paul was this leading Jewish Pharisee. He was in a position of wealth and prosperity. He had safety, glory, fame, and friends. And look at what Paul is saying. He is saying, I would rather spend my life as a slave proclaiming this gospel than to have all of the best things in the world. I don't think that's us. I really don't. Maybe we say it, but would we honestly be willing to say it'd be better for me to live my entire life as a slave to the gospel than to have my wealth, my health, all of my friends, my fame, my glory, my safety? Paul loses all of that, and he's thrilled about it because it makes him a slave to the gospel of Christ. Can I suggest that the reason we don't see it the same way? I don't think we understand the gospel. I don't think we've come face to face with the gospel, because when you come face to face with the gospel, you realize, like Paul did, it is thousands of times better than the best things that the world has to offer. Paul finds glory in being a slave to the gospel. So what is the gospel?